Hi everyone, today we're going to be going through another 2020 Senate analysis where we're going to be taking a deep dive into a particular Senate race that is competitive come the year 2020. And today we're going to be taking a look at the Montana Senate race, and this is the Steve Daines race, the incumbent Republican there, Steve Daines, trying to hold on to his seat against the Democratic opponent, who we're not sure. There's no clear front runner right now for that Democratic nomination. So, looking at this map, Montana is not necessarily a state Democrats need to win back the Senate, unlike Arizona and Colorado, which are states that Democrats kind of do need to win in order to have a shot at winning back the Senate. Montana is not necessarily one of those states, and so we're just going to be taking a deep dive into the 2020 Senate race in Montana. Okay, so the data we'll be looking at today in the analysis is some morning consult polling, which looks at the different senators' approval ratings. If we go down to the state of Montana, where Steve Daines is from right now, his approval rating is 50% approval to 29% disapproval. This is the Steve Daines website, so Daines for U.S. Senate. Blah blah blah, fifth generation Montana, father of four, blah blah blah. We don't necessarily need to look at that in all too much detail, but this is the Wikipedia page for the 2020 Senate race in Montana. Right now, Steve Daines is the incumbent, obviously. There are only two people who have actually declared that they are running. It's Wilmot Collins, the mayor of Helena, and John Muse, the engineer and the U.S. Navy veteran. So both of these people, not very well known. The potential person who could take on someone like a Daines is, in fact, the former governor of Montana, Brian Schweitzer, and the incumbent governor of Montana, Steve Bullock, but he's running for president right now. So if that's definitely very interesting to look at those different things. Okay, so looking at their campaign funds, we're going to be taking a look at that along with Steve Daines' previous election results. So, firstly, this morning consult poll where they look at each of the senators' approval ratings. Right now, Steve Daines, the junior senator from Montana, the Republican, has a 50% approval rating, a 29% disapproval rating. Look, that's actually quite good. It's not the best, but I think it is relatively good. If this is very good for a Democrat in Montana. It's solid, but not amazingly spectacular. Steve Daines right now, 50% to 29%. That is a plus, if my math is correct, plus 21 net approval. So yeah, that is pretty good. 22% of voters still unsure. So, yeah. Okay, and then looking at this Wikipedia page, it's pretty small. Steve Daines, obviously the incumbent. I think that the two people who have the best shot of winning this seat, maybe Brian Schweitzer, who's the former governor, but the big person is Steve Bullock. I think he has the best chance of winning against someone like a Steve Daines. It'll be a battle of the Steves, as they call it, incumbent governor of Montana. So, if he were to run again. Yeah, okay. So looking at the morning consult polling, pretty good news for Steve Daines. Okay, now we're going to look at the fundraising situation. Right now, this article, which is Montana Public Radio, says, and I quote, Republican U.S. Senator Steve Daines has reported raising more than $1 million over the last 3 months for his re-election bid in 2020. All candidates in Montana races for the House and Senate were required to disclose their quarterly fundraising and spending on Monday. So this means Daines has raised $1 million over the past quarter and $3.5 million in total. The House Kathleen Williams campaign for $30,000 this quarter. and then another Democrat there, Tom Winter, reported raising 130,000. And then obviously there's a few other Republicans there running for different offices. But Daines leads in Montana congressional candidates in fundraising. That is definitely something to note in this point in time. So overall, it's looking pretty good for Daines right now. But if we look at his previous election in 2014, he was running against the Democrat there in Amanda Curtis. The Democrat got 148,000 votes. Daines came up well above that at 230,000 votes. Curtis falling well short there of Daines. Daines getting 57.8% of that vote. Curtis at 40.1%. So if we go ahead and look here, there was a long list of Democrats who declined to run in this. A U.S. Senator, the governor, Steve Bullock, actually the governor, Republican state senator, state representative. There's just so many people who could have run but did not choose to run, and so that is something to take into account. With that kind of thing. So yeah, that is pretty much the U.S. Senate race in Montana. So let's go back and make a final decision as to who we think this would go to. So for me, this all comes down to whether Steve Bullock decides to run for that Senate seat. If he does decide to run, I would say you're looking at a tilt Republican seat, right, which is under 2%. If he does not decide to run and another candidate decides to run, another candidate wins the nomination, be that a Wilmot, what's his name again? Wilmot Collins. I would say Brian Schweitzer could keep it somewhat competitive, maybe 4%, but then these two I just don't think have the name recognition, and they would lose by, I see, a likely margin. So summing it all into an average, I'm going to put it as a leaning Republican seat. But honestly, this all depends on whether Bullock runs. If he does, it's getting really close. But if he doesn't, it's a very likely Republican seat. So I'm gonna finish it out as a leaning GOP seat. So yeah, we see Steve Daines narrowly taking on, narrowly winning their 44 Republicans, 46 Democrats right now in the Senate. Next time we're going to do Texas. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.